Hey, this is Hi-Fi Finder. Today I would like to make a video on the compact cassette. It was a form of medium that was used back in the the 80s and the 70s, and it was developed in the late 60s. With Philips, and then later Sony hopped on board and made it even more popular, and this was a analog form of recording, which is much less quality than, say, digital recording, CDs and streaming, but at the time when it came out it was amazing for the fact that it was compact and you could take it anywhere. Because before that they had reel-to-reels, were big record players. You couldn't take them on the road or anywhere else. You could only use them at home. So this was a type of music medium that you could not only use it in your home, but you could take everywhere. The reason why this came about was they had the reel-to-reel and the record players, and you couldn't use them anywhere else other than your home because of the size. These were compact, but the thing is they weren't as good quality as, say, the reel-to-reel. The reel-to-reel was basically the father of this. It was also a magnetic tape recording. As you can see, there's two reels inside this, but the thing that was amazing about this was it was in a plastic case. So it would protect it, so you could take it on the road, dust and stuff couldn't get in and really mess it up, or couldn't get tangled, because it would always be in a case, which is really amazing at the time, because anytime you had a tape recording it, to make sure you didn't get all tangled, because it's very stringy. So I'll give you an example here. This is one I opened up. As you can see, I took it apart. There's a few screws and you can just unscrew it. And you can see there's a plastic here that helps glide along the reels inside the plastic case. Now, as you can see, there's two reels, two spindles, and two reels inside. And it has these two wheels that guide the tape and going through this portion here. This portion here is where the tape would meet the head. There's a head inside of these cassette players that would read the music on this on the tape. So the head would meet. As you can see, there's a little spring with a little cushion, and that would press the tape against the head, so it would always have full contact. And then you'd have a pinch and roller inside here, and you have the erase head here. So as you can see, I have a cassette tape. This is a double cassette player, and this here is made by Realistics. It's a very old unit, but as you can see, we have a few buttons here. You can select what type of tape you have, and volume for recording. So you have a record, play, rewind, forward, and stop, and eject. So you eject it, you put your disc inside, you close it, and then you could press play. And then you have rewind the tape, fast forward the tape. So that's a bit about how it looks and how it works. The cassette tape quality was not as good as, say, its predecessor, the reel-to-reel. The reel-to-reel was used for recording also, and it was analog. But this was similar, but the type of chemical they had on the tape here it's not as good quality, and the tape is so small that they kind of have to smush all that information on that tape, and it had two sides of the recording. So you can imagine there's an A and B side. So if you play this side, you get a stereo recording. You could record on this side and you could record on that side. So it wasn't the best quality. These cassette players had two types. You had a Type 2 and a Type 1. And then later on, when they tried to improve it, they came out with Type 4 metal recordings. As you can see, this type of tape is pretty brown. It's brown color. And this is a bit darker. So it has a bit more better material, because the tape head uses magnetism to magnetize the information on the tape. So when you press play and that tape starts running through, that information is converted in this machine to give you sound. So the type of material that they used to magnetize was very important for the sound. So basically, in this player you have so you have a playhead and a record head in one. So it's like a metal square with a round top, and it has a kind of a magnetizer that would magnetize the sound on your tape. It wasn't magnetizing the sound itself, but it was magnetizing an electrical signal that converted into music. So you also had the erase head that was more on this side, so it would erase the tape. If you were recording, it would erase the tape, and then the record head would put the information. And then when you weren't recording, that same head in the middle would then read the magnetized information. So this unit here, as you can see, you can record on this side and play on this side. This unit here is can do both, and it's a newer model. This is a 3 head, which means the head has all three: the erase and record and listening on the same one. So these are actually the better model. You know, that's what most of the experts say. This is a very high-end model I have. It's a Sony. It's all metal. It's very beautiful, and the sound quality is amazing. So these are kind of an older model where it's separate. There's only 2 heads for their playback and record. So you had different selections of type of tape. You could use Type 1, Type 2. There was you had different Dolby settings too, because these cassette tapes made a lot of noise, meaning that when you recorded, you'd hear a lot of hissing, kind of background noise when you were to play back these recordings. So they weren't like CDs or any digital recording. You'd always hear some kind of noise when you're listening to it, or especially when it was very quiet, you'd hear a kind of all the time. Kind of like record has some crackling and pop if it's you know, if it's a little dirty. Not all the records are like that. But over time they start to get noisy. But that's all about analog recording. There's always some residual noise when you listen to them. But it was much prevalent with this type of technology. But like I said, they came out with Dolby and different noise reduction selections later on, when they came out with metal, and even with the Type 1s and Type 2s, but Type 1 really didn't have any good noise reduction, because like I said, the material in there was not the best, and it was very noisy. So they also came out with cassettes that were pre-recorded. So this is a Michael Jackson here. This is the Thriller, and as you can see on the top, they have these holes. Now these holes are to prevent someone from accidentally recording over this, because back in the day it's not like a cell phone or an iPod or iPad where you could go to a streaming service and select it and play it. These cassettes, you had to go and buy them or get a copy from somebody who recorded it already. So imagine paying $20 for this, and then someone comes over to your house and then accidentally press record. Now as you can see, the record button, I can't press it. but where this hole is, there's a tab on the left side of these units. Now if I press that, manually press it, because the cover's off, I can show you, and then you'll see that the record works because the button is pressed. So what it is essentially these holes in the top prevent someone from recording. But if you see one that you could record on, not pre-recorded, you see the tabs are not broken off, and that little switch cannot go down there. And if the switch can't go down there, you can record over the tape. And what was good is you could re-record over these many times. If you recorded a recording on it, you weren't stuck with it permanently. You could re-record. Some cassettes had problems, like metal, where if you made a few recordings, after a while you'd hear the music still in the background that you recorded before. And even the regular cassette tapes over time had kind of crosstalk, where some of the recording from one part of the tape would be, you could hear it still in the background when you were listening to one side of, say if you're playing side A, sometimes you'd hear side B playing faintly in the back. Or sometimes, like I was talking about the type metal, is you've recorded over something but you still hear it because it's not fully gone. So there was some problems with this type of medium in terms of noise and just the quality, because as over time, as you recorded over these things, they would deteriorate the sound. And even just sitting there or just playing them enough, if you played them too many times, the sound would eventually just degrade, which you don't have that problem with CDs or streaming, that you could play them thousands of times and you don't have any sound quality degradation. So this was kind of inferior, but at the time, I'll tell you why, because a lot of music companies say, so say you have Epic, who owned this recording, didn't essentially want anybody to take this and make a copy of it and not buy their cassette, because they'd lose money. And back then they were losing millions of dollars of people who were getting cassette players like this and making copies and copies and copies of the same recording. So that's essentially why I think they didn't want you to have such a good recording, because you just not buy their product. So that's why this unit was why these units don't record so well and such a high resolution, because piracy. People would just make copies and sell them from a back of a truck back in the day to make a living. A lot of people made a lot of money, but you know, the recording industry was losing a lot of money, which was terrible. So that's one of the reasons why these were not the best quality in terms of degradation. So I mean, another reason why these cassette players were amazing, or recorders, was because back in the day we were able to record anything. We could record, say if you had a home studio, this is the only way you could record cheaply at the time, because other than that you needed a studio. Well, now we can record anywhere and anything, and on our phone and everything. But back in the day we didn't have, even if we wanted to videotape something, it used a tape like this that would record on a tape. But now, I mean, with the technology we have, it's much more convenient. But at the time, this was cost savings was amazing. Another reason why this was inferior to the older reel-to-reel is the speed, and it was very compact. Like I was saying, this is very compact. Where they, the tape has these two sides. Everything's smushed together, so it's not even a very good way of recording. But at the time, it was the only thing we had, and we could make playlists, or we called mixtapes back then. So this technology is not used as much anymore. I mean, people say it's coming back, but I think, you know, they're saying the record's coming back, CD player. I think it's just trends. The trends are coming and going all the time. But same with clothing. But I think that it's not going to be a technology that I can't see coming being used anymore because of the superiority of digital recording. Okay, so another thing I wanted to show you today was pre-recorded. So I recorded a few things like some music I made on my keyboard, just to give you an example because of copyright. So today I wanted to show you about how a lot of people complain about cassettes and how they have terrible sound. And, oh, they sound like garbage. But they weren't that bad. The thing is that they had tracking. You could adjust there's adjustments in these machines to adjust the sound of the unit. In terms of a pre-recorded tape or this tape, when you say if I make a recording of anything on this tape that I bought, and I bring it to my friend's house, I put it in his cassette player, it sounds bad. And I thought, you know, I used to always think, it's the machine, his machine sounds bad. But then I realized later on that it's not the machine. You can adjust that little tape, the head inside. They was talking about the record head, play head. You can adjust it. Not so much on these newer units. You see there's no access to get in there, and even if you do, you don't want to fiddle with it because you could break it. But these older units were amazing because you could adjust the head inside and extract as much resolution as you could out of that cassette. So I'm gonna give you an example of how that works. So let me just press play and turn it up. So basically you have a head in there, and you put the screwdriver, there's a hole in here. As you can see, I can access it. And so as you can see, the cymbals went away. It sounds kind of like muffled. It sounds pretty bad. It sounds like it's being, like there's something over the speaker. So that's why a lot of people complain about the recording. But what you can do is adjust it. And as you can see, the recording comes back. You have the drums clear, the cymbals are clear. So there is a way to adjust these units to get more resolution out of them. It's just not all the units have it. So I just wanted to showcase that these units were not the best, but there is a way to adjust them, because every recording, the record head on whatever unit they recorded is not in the same position as your machine. So if you find one of these machines, this is a realistic, you know, you can record, it's got a record level just like these other units, but it had more features to adjust than, say, the more fancier units. So another thing I wanted to show off with the cassette was, I'll just press play. As you can see the VU meters jumping. So when you record it, you can see the volume level of, let me just get this back here, rewind it, see, because I want to see the VUs. Now as you can see, it's popping in the red. Now if this is a digital recording, this would be clipping everywhere. Clipping is kind of like it's kind of a skipping sound, or a real nasty crackling sound you'll hear when you go over the limit of the recording unit. The beauty of analog recording is you could always go a little higher than what the unit says is the limit, and it would actually give you a certain sound. And that's why there's a lot of studios that use analog, because you could what they call oversaturate the sound, and that gives it a signature sounding recording. And that's why analog back then was kind of amazing, that even if it was at its limit, it wouldn't just break down. It would kind of just give a different sound. It would distort, but not in a nasty way. It would distort in a kind of a friendly way. So that's why these analog is different than digital. It's not as superior, but it had features that we just don't have anymore. I mean, you can do the same thing with digital, but you need more units, a different separate unit to create that sound. When with recording with analog, you can create that sound just by boosting the sound a little, putting the volume a little higher than what the limit is of the machine. So those are one of the cool features of analog. So even though analog is a little inferior, it's amazing some of the things that were done with these equipment back then. So I thought you would find all this information interesting today. Thank you for watching, and if you like what you saw, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Have a nice day.